Hi and welcome back to my channel. I am Koala and this is my little nook in this end of the universe that we call YouTube. I am a shamanic practitioner mainly within Nordic shamanism, and today I'm here to continue our journey with the series on Nordic gods, and we have reached Thor. So in this video I will talk about who is Thor. I will talk about my relationship with Thor. And then I'm going to go into, can you honor, summon, celebrate Thor in any way? Do I? Have people done before? Etc. And then I'm going to thank you for watching this video. And before we go into all of this, I want to remind you that I have a Patreon that you are welcome to support by joining as a free member or a member on any tier that suits you. So, with that said, Thor. Who is Thor? So, I think I want to start with going through like the his family tree. I think that's the word. His family tree. So, he is the son of Odin and Jord, or Jord. So Jord is a giantess, and her name is directly translated into earth, but I'm not sure that is her English name if she has any. So Jord and Odin. So basically Odin and earth, but I'm not sure because we don't really treat her as the earth mother in this in our tradition, Nordic tradition. So and she has other names as well. So Thor has some children. He has 3 children, and he also has a stepson, so 4 children. So together with his wife Siv, he has Mode and Trude. Mode is one of his sons, and the name means courage, but it can also mean the angry one, depending on what source you are looking at. And then Trude is his daughter, and her name means strength or the strong one. And then together with a giantess called Järnsaxa or iron scissors, I'm guessing. He has Magne, which also means strength or the powerful one. And then to his family he also counts his 2 servants, Shalve and Röskva. Those are siblings that come with him on his journeys. And Thor lives in Trudvang or Trudheim, which means the power, like Trudvang could mean the powerful meadow or the power meadow, and Trudheim means the power home or the powerful home. So yeah, and of course Thor has his hammer Mjolnir, and Mjolnir is the name. I have found one translation, or like one translation for its name, the Crusher. So Mjolnir is a hammer that is kind of sentient, and it is magical, and it has the properties of Mjolnir are several. With that, Thor can create thunder and lightning, and with creating lightning he also has power over fire as an element. And with Mjolnir also always comes back, kind of like a boomerang. Takes a lap around and then comes back. It always hits his target and always comes back to Thor. And with Mjolnir he can revive his goats. So he can slaughter his 2 goats that I think it's goats, yeah, that draws his carriage. So he can slaughter them in the evening and have like a feast, and then the morning after he can revive them with Mjolnir. And there are several stories around this, of course. Thor is a very, very popular god and has always been. I'm gonna go into that a little bit more when I talk about honoring him. But yeah, there's a lot of stories, and I've read quite a few doing the research for this video, but I'm not going to actually go into any of them specifically. I might mention them here and there. So the goats that draw his carriage are called Tanngrisner and Tangnost. Tanngrisner means the one with a gap between their teeth. And then Tangnost, the one who, and grinding, the one who grinds their teeth, yeah. And Thor is often referred to as the Lord of the Goats. And so Thor's most important job as a god is to keep the world order, and funnily enough, he often has to do this by fighting Jörmungand, and I talked about Jörmungand and Thor in the video on Jörmungand, and my opinion on which one is really the chaos maker. Is it Thor or is it Jörmungand, the serpent? So anyway, Thor's most important job is to maintain world order, and he often has the giants as worthy or unworthy opponents, which is kind of funny because he also has, he really likes the giantesses, and he has a son with one of them, and he often gets the aid of the giantesses when he fights the giants. Just like this, and this is from one of the sources called Fornnordisk religion, ancient Nordic religion. Thor is always at it, fighting the giants and other forces of chaos, and in this way he takes care of and guards Asgard and Midgard against these chaotic forces. Thor is the strongest of the gods, and there are many tales of his unmatched strength, but he is not always wise. So he is considered a warrior god, but he's not a warrior god like other warrior gods, because he's mainly a warrior god because of his strength, and that he can use his strength and his hammer to fight battles. Because he's not a strategist. Did I say that right? I think so. He's not a strategist. He often doesn't think longer than his nose is long. That's a Swedish saying. Like, you can't see past his nose, He doesn't think past his nose. And especially when the rage is awakened within him. And there's also this little bit about the rage in him. When the rage in him awakens, it is turned into a godly power, or asmegin, and it's very feared by his opponent. So it's like when he becomes this powerful god with this asmegin, then they run the other direction. So when he travels across the sky in his chariot, he does so as a fertility god. It says like this: he makes sure that there is rain, and therefore the farmers will have food. But it also says in another source that Thor mainly contributes to the farmers' harvest by making the earth fertile, but the one that really makes it grow is Frey. Frey is the fertility god with the sexual power and the fertilizing, like the really, that power to really make it happen, so to speak. to impregnate the earth. So we need Thor for rain and thunder is also viewed upon as really good for nature. The thunder in itself, with the release of energy and that sort of thing, it's really powerful, and it gives power to nature, and it also gives rain. So that is his contribution as a fertility god. So he can be viewed upon as both a fertility god and a warrior god. And but he can't really, he's not a warrior god that is a strategist. He can't like, he doesn't gather his troops and set out to go to war and that sort of thing. He goes often alone with only his hammer, because he needs that. If he doesn't have his hammer, and he also has a belt, like a power belt, if he doesn't have those things, he is rather useless. So there are stories when he is lent other tools or other weapons by the giantesses, so that he can win his battles against giants. And so as I said before, Thor lives in Trudvang or Trudheim, the strong world, you can call it, or the power meadow, or the power home. And the hall that he resides in within this home is called Bil Hirnir, and I think that, I didn't write it down, but I think it's like a sudden burst of power, and it's relating to him making lightning. And so this hall can be, it's like equivalent to Valhall in its pride and glory. So because he gives rain, and he is known to be the god of thunder and lightning, and in the Nordic tradition he is the god that we go to alter the weather in any way, to gain a strong wind, to gain more rain for our fields and that sort of thing. He is viewed upon as a farmer's god. That it was popular for farmers to fear him and revere him, but also sailors had a relationship with him sometimes because of his his power over weather and storms over the seas. So so there is this story about Thor and Jörmungand that I mentioned. And he doesn't actually kill Jörmungand. They have different endings with Ragnarök, but there are interesting things to be said about his about the tales about this. So, and a lot of other tales about Thor handling these chaotic forces. And I'm gonna translate a quote from which book is it? It's still Ancient Nordic Religion. Okay, so it says like this on the topic of this then. We are dealing with a culture that isn't afraid of conflict. The challenges in everyday life aren't swept under the rug. They are being sought out and told about. The gods are like anyone else that wins or loses. And on the topic of the sagas, I also want to say that there are a lot of tales where Thor dresses as a woman to get away with things, or to cheat and trick. And I think it's so interesting. There are several sources that describes him as red-headed, and imagine this big red-headed, like what you imagine a Viking to look like, right? And he dresses as a woman, and he fools everyone and gets away with it. There's one tale where he dresses as a bride, and they don't even understand that he's not a bride when he like clears the table, eats everything, and it's not until they're supposed to be wed that he's given like a weapon. I think it's actually a hammer that he's given as like a bridal gift of some sort, and then he takes that and just starts killing. And it just feels it's so funny. It just feels so funny to me. I know I say that a lot, but I really like these old tales and old sagas, and yeah, I really do. So Thor's hammer has ever since the Viking Age been used as an amulet, and also a mark of identity as someone who reveres Thor and wants to be on his good side, to have maybe rain for the harvest and his protection. So the protection actually is also used for graves. So I found in one source, ancient Scandinavian religion, that the hammer, or the sign of the hammer, was an important symbol to protect the dead in the grave. So I imagine this to be from like grave robbers, because it has nothing to do with protecting the dead going to, going into Valhalla or Hell's Realm or anything like that. It has to do with protecting the dead in the grave. So yeah, and there used to be a practice of giving children to Thor and naming them after him, but never ever only Thor. So we have a lot, to this day we have a lot of Thor names in Sweden and in Scandinavia, and on Iceland, and yeah, in the Nordic countries we have names that starts with Thor or Tor, as the Swedish name is Tor, and it can be like Torsten or Thorstein. It can be Tor Ulf, Thor Ulf, like Ulf is wolf, and it can be a lot of other names starting with Tor. Those are the ones that I know people. I know a Torsten, I know a Torulf, I know. Yeah, those are, I think, the names I can come up with from like knowing people. But it's interesting that you never gave the name Thor to a child. That would be like too arrogant, But it was a sign of honoring to have a Thor name. Thor something. So I already said that Thor is not a strategist. He doesn't gather his troops. He just goes alone, and he is viewed as very independent and not reliant on the other gods for anything that he does. And he is seen as the Nordic or Norse equivalent to Hercules and Jupiter, with strength, I imagine. And I found this really interesting thing that Thor his power is in his belt and in his hammer, but Frey, his power and magic is in his phallus. So Thor has never been viewed upon like as this big. He is this big strong god, right? But not in and of itself, and there's no body part. He has his tools that makes him strong and magical. Like, he's nothing without them. But other gods like Frey, they are magical in and of itself. So there's this story about Frey giving up his most prized possession to marry the one he loves. But Thor would never give up his hammer to marry the one he loves, because Thor is nothing without his hammer, but Frey is everything still without his I don't remember what he gave up, it just flew out of my mind right now. I just read about it, and I know it. But I guess that is something I will talk about when I talk about Frey, and that I will talk about him in the fall of 2026, the next time this series comes around here on YouTube. So, my relationship with Thor. Let's go there. So my relationship with Thor is very much based on weather and weather magic, I would say, but also his protective properties. Like, Thor to me is one of the gods you can really rely on when you need his protection. And he is connected to the rune of Raido, which is the rune of the chariot, it's Thor's rune. It's the rune for weather, for thunder and lightning, as well as many other things, but I'm not going to talk about that rune in this video. But yeah, so with that rune anyway, we get Thor's protection, just as we do if we carry a hammer. And there is this really funny story about me trying to make a hammer out of clay once. It didn't really go well. I made a Tiwas upside down instead, and had a really hard time. Because that is the warrior, the fighter rune, and I had it upside down, so I walked around being really irritable and a pain in the ass to a lot of people for like a week, until I connected the dots and stopped carrying that. So anyway, so my relationship with Thor is based on those two characteristics, I would say: the weather magic and the protective properties of Thor and his hammer. And I love working with Thor. I really enjoy summoning him and working with him. And just as when I talked about Odin, Thor has always been a part of me, and he's been really close. You know, I only have to. It feels like I just have to turn around and be like, oh, there you are. When it comes to the goddesses of the Nordic, as I said in that video on Odin, those are more like I need to really summon them and work with their properties and really almost hold on to them, or maybe accept that they hold me and embrace me and nourish me. The gods, I feel I have a closer relationship with. We do have Torsdag, which is Thursday, Thor's day, and I think I've always had this moment of knowing that Thursday's coming around, and that's a reminder. Thursday's always coming around, right? And that's a reminder that Thor is ever present. And Odin has his day as well, with Wednesday in Swedish is onsdag, that's Odin's day. So those two. And we also have Frey in Friday, as well as Freya. Frey and Freya on Friday, fredag. So I think I've always kind of been reminded in everyday life, and he also was a big part of the tales that I heard growing up, because there are a lot of tales of him trying to do the right thing, going out and taking upon himself to protect Asgard, to protect Midgard, to protect the humans, to protect the gods, and sometimes he ends up being the fool, and it doesn't always work out, and it shows his almost human traits, and it's easy to see yourself in that, or at least feel like he is not perfect. And I think we love a god that isn't perfect. So Thor has always been a part of my life, and I worked with him really closely for my entire adult life, or at least the last 15 years. So yeah, he's like an ingrained part of my everyday life and my practice. So yeah. So can you honor, can you summon, can you celebrate him? You absolutely can. And in the olden days, like Viking Age and before, I think there are sources from as early as the 700s, that like the 700s, or earlier, sources with like pictures of him and tales about him. So the cult of Thor has really been big for a very long time, and when Christianity took over, people continued to wear their Thor's hammers, almost in the same way as the Christians wear their crosses, to really, as a mark of identity, like, this is me, this is what I'm not giving up for you. I'm still gonna revere this god, and I'm still gonna call upon him when I need rain, when I need thunder and lightning. And that is the most often thing that people summoned him for: rain or wind. So to make the wind go in the right direction, or have good wind, as we say in Sweden. So yeah, people have revered him, have honored him and celebrated him, often together with Frey and Odin, for centuries, for millennia, I would say. So you can absolutely do so yourself in any way, shape or form. And all of the gods, they like, a good cup of mead. And you can name your children after him. Thor something, just not Thor, not just only Thor. So yeah, of course you can give the kid like a double name and then call him Thor. And remember, there are also ways to honor him with more girly name as well. Like Tora is a really good name. Thora. I don't know if you would call someone Thora in English, but Tora is a really cute name, I say. Ortrud, as his daughter is called, the strong one, Trud. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to do that, and I would absolutely do that. And I think, as an example, I call upon Thor when I want to work with weather. Mostly when I want to know the weather, maybe, and when I want to work on the storms that are inside of me, more than outside of me. But the outside is a reflection on the inside anyway, so work from the inside out. That's my way of doing it. And as I said, for protection. So the hammer is a really good symbol for protection from Thor. So why not start to honor him on Thursdays? Pick a Thursday. I think that's how I started out when I was a kid. Thursdays. So yeah. And I will eventually have ceremonies for the gods consistently, that's the word, on my Patreon eventually. Right now we are celebrating the goddesses as I celebrate them during the year, but we do celebrate a god here and there as well, but I will make it more consistent in the future. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So summon, absolutely, for protection, for good wind, for rain, for working with the storm, for being in the eye of the storm instead of letting the storm affect you. That's a really good way of working with him. Celebrate him, absolutely. Celebrate and honor him in any way that you like. Go all in, or why not just, pour a drink for him on a Thursday evening or something like that, and put it at like a centerpiece, and then pour it out when it's stood there for a while, and say thank you for whatever you want to thank him for. So yeah, thank you for watching. And don't forget to watch my shorts. Don't forget my Patreon. And thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, subscribing, liking, and all of the buttons. All of the buttons. See you soon. Walk in beauty. Walk with Thor. Shingling.